Multiverse! Hello, my name is Jake Lloyd Bacon, and I am a New Yorker who loves pop culture, comic books, and co-hosts who show up for the podcast recordings of which their names are included in the titles of. That is right. Coy Jandro of Coycast is not here. At the time of recording, July 3rd, Coy is in a car somewhere driving far away from Los Angeles, despite the fact that we were scheduled to record all of our July entertainment on this day. I don't know what's going on, you guys. Honestly, I feel like Coy's poor planning, his inability to keep his schedule or his word, isn't an indictment of him. And it doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't care about you as much as I do. But also it kind of is, and it kind of does. And so I'm here, at least. I have nobody. There's not a single... I tried to get one of the pod dogs to talk into a microphone, but they weren't having it. And so I didn't want to leave the pod feed completely dark. So I am here in all of my solo glory, kind of like an early Coycast where it was Coy just yapping all by himself. It's me. It is officially a Coycast Jakeover. And so, we've got shit to do here. It is the first episode of July. We need to crown the July gift horse, which we will do a little bit later, the official unpunchable gift horse of July. If you don't know what that is, then you got to become a patron over at patreon.com/Coycast. Become a gift horse tier patron. And every month you're entered into the contest where we pick a winner. You get your name up in lights in the Discord for the entire month. You get to pick a movie or TV show for us to watch and review over on the Patreon only pod. That is, of course, if Coy shows up for it. And of course, you get an item of your choosing from the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com. Brand new Coycast hats in there now. There's some great t-shirts. There's that trailer free life shirt. We've got the gift horse shirts. Lots of great stuff over there. You get one of that. So you want to get in there. I was really excited about doing the gift horse pick today. And it's hilarious because I was looking forward to telling Coy that we have the most names in our contest today than we've ever had. And on the day that the most amount of people have shown their support for this program, Coy decides not to show up. Again, I'm not saying it's an indictment of him as a person. I'm just saying that maybe do a better job of writing your dates in your calendar before you go away for a 5-day weekend for the holiday on the day that we're recording the entire month of July. Anyways, we're going to do that a little bit later. We're going to pick a gift horse. And obviously, I don't know this is going to be a full episode. Nobody wants to hear me yap for a little while, but you do come here for some news every now and then. I tried to fight it, but the people spoke, and you guys like a little bit of pop culture comic book news. So here's just a few things that came across my feed that I found interesting over the past couple of weeks. First being Stranger Things and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is the crossover that I did not know that I wanted. IDW and Dark Horse are teaming up for a crossover comic book series written by Cameron Chittock and drawn by TMNT artist Pharaoh P, whose versions of the Turtles, they make me feel very warm and fuzzy inside. Pharaoh P. I don't know if it's Pharaoh P. It's just P.E. is the last name, but oh my goodness, the art is beautiful. And when I first saw this, I didn't really know what to think because I feel like Stranger Things and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I think about the TV show of Stranger Things, it seems like an odd combo. But I think back to when the first season of Stranger Things hit and how it made me feel like Ghostbusters. And in my own head canon, and I know also in comic books canon, Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles both exist in the same New York. And so if that's where my mind goes, I think this will be great. Also, one of the covers that was posted, there's a few different covers of it. Oh my God, it's beautiful. It is Donatello and Will playing D&D. And quite frankly, if the entire comic book was literally just Donnie and Will playing D&D, I would read it. There's a lot of hype. Seems to be an exciting event happening. IDW and Dark Horse. So yeah, grab that. Issue 1, I believe it drops this week. I don't know. Coy would probably know. Coy? Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. He's not here. So yeah, grab yourself Stranger Things and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW and Dark Horse. Hey, you know that movie that came out, The Flash? Oh boy, you guys. The Flash is reportedly on track to lose Warner Brothers an estimated $200 million. Considering the global marketing campaign for the film was $150 million itself, it seems that the studio would have actually lost less money by not releasing the movie at all. And yeah, herein lies the issue with these big budget giant IPs that are too big to fail. And you know, the days of the kind of low to mid budget big name comedy. I know there's a lot of chat about oh darn it, I can't think of the name right now. The one with Jennifer Lawrence in the movie theaters happening right now. The name of the movie escapes me, but are those going to be the things that end up saving studios? Are we going to get away from the big giant IPs and the big franchises when they don't do well because they cost $150 million just to advertise? I mean, that is insanity. If you haven't seen the clip, I believe it was from Hot Ones, a steamed interview show, Hot Ones, because it's 2023. No, I'm joking. I love that show. But Matt Damon's episode of it is incredible. And he talks all about how, you know, the DVD market and the home video market made up so much of a film's income, so much of their revenue, that you could kind of hack the marketing for it, because you know, even if it didn't do incredibly well in the theater, that you would have that second wave of revenue coming back. And it's just not there, and it's not going to be there because, of course, Flash is going to end up on you know, HBO Max. I'm sorry, Max, and it's going to make them no additional money. And so you kind of understand why at some point when a movie is this bad, and I say that I haven't seen the movie yet. I don't mean its quality necessarily is bad, but that it's just underperforming. You can kind of see from a business standpoint why a company would be like, or we just shelve it and not do anything with it because we don't have to pay for all of the advertising. So Batgirl, you know, it might have simply been just like, we don't think it's worth marketing the movie. Or at least just then in that instance, maybe Flash just should have went right to HBO Max with no marketing, because then at least they wouldn't have spent the additional $150 million. Oh my God. I could make so many movies for $150 million. It's insane. And I feel bad for everybody who worked on that movie. Oh, not everybody. I feel bad for most of the people who worked on that movie because it just seems to be a real unfortunate situation all across the board. But don't worry. If you love The Flash, if you're a huge DC fan, and you thought, but I like The Flash, he's my favorite character. Maybe you thought, you know what? It looks cool how he runs all fast and stuff. But it might be even more fun to listen to him run instead of just watching him run. Well, grab your Beats by Dre and put on your running shoes, because Apple Podcasts and Warner have announced a brand new companion piece to the Flash movie that is doing terrible in the form of a scripted podcast series called Flash Escape the Midnight Circus. 2 episodes are supposed to be dropping this weekend, July 10th, on Apple Podcast. And Max Greenfield is the voice of Barry Allen. I really like Max Greenfield. If you don't know the name, he was Schmidt on New Girl. I really thought he was going to end up being a much bigger star than not that he's not a big star, but I thought he was going to be the breakout of that whole group. I would not have expected Jake Johnson to be the one, but I'll take it because I love that guy. But anyways, Max Greenfield, great voice for Barry Allen. I can totally hear it. And in fact, you can hear it too, because there is a trailer for it currently available. But it does not sound great. And I don't mean like it sounds like it's poorly written, but it's like it doesn't sound great. And I wonder if they said, hey, we're not spending $1 on production of this podcast because we just lost 150 million of it. We lost 200 million of it. But in any case, it's there. I mean, I joke obviously because it does seem like for a superhero whose entire power is running really fast, that an audio play, a radio drama, if you will, is an odd, an odd art form to tell those stories. But I run a podcast network. I like audio dramas. I like action on audio, and I'm all for books on tape, especially when they're read well and they're sound designed and they're all fun and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm all for more of this sort of media, especially for these IPs, because the reality is it's a much lower risk for the studios and for these companies to produce a podcast that they'll get a decent amount of advertising on. And maybe there's some of it, I don't know, maybe there might be that thing where they can put some of it behind a paywall where there's a premium to listen to additional episodes or the ends of things. I don't know. There's other ways that you can make money without having to spend a ton in that space. So I think this is a great idea. And I know that, Marvel's had quite a few. There's been a few other decent DC ones. I believe there was a decent Batman one. Like, audio plays for days, and I'm interested to hear more of it. I'm interested to hear Max Greenfield as Barry Allen, because he does have a very good Barry Allen voice. You just have to get over the Schmidt of it all, because even in the little 1-minute trailer that's available, oh my God, it's so hard to not picture Schmidt specifically talking, and you got to get rid of that. But anyways, speaking of Warner Brothers and Discovery, them and Netflix are in cahoots. I thought this was fascinating. Speaking about ways for companies to make money, HBO's Insecure is now available on Netflix after the two companies were, rumored to be canoodling. Other HBO originals like 6 Feet Under, Ballers, Band of Brothers, True Blood, and The Pacific are all headed to Netflix as well. I think this is kind of fascinating because we've talked about the original series when it exists solely on your streaming platform. It's hard to quantify its value, how much, we spent on making the show. Obviously, you get your initial runs, you get ads and stuff like that. And maybe not on something like HBO, but on a regular network, let's say like a, NBC kind of thing. And then it lives on your streaming service, and you have to pay royalties. It's the reason why a lot of these companies like Max and all these other companies have followed suit and pulling shows, because it's costing them money to have them on there. They're not making any money. They have to pay all the residuals and all of these other, things. And so, not that they shouldn't, they absolutely should, but you can see from a devilish capitalist pig business standpoint how keeping stuff up that you can't guarantee is making you any money is not a good business practice. So by selling the rights to those, it creates a whole other a whole other revenue opportunity to put your HBO show on Netflix, or to put your, NBC Universal show on Apple, or vice versa. It's just another way to make money. I do think it is a little funny because at the birth of the streamers, it's all about like, you can only get this here. That's why ours is valuable, because you want to watch this one show, don't you? You got to pay this $10 to this service this month or whatever it is to see that show. And I like to think that at some point, every streamer will just be licensing their stuff to every other streamer, because it's the only way they're going to have money. And then eventually they'll all be exactly the same. So you only need to have one of them, and then you will see everything. But, I can only dream. In any case, if you're a fan of any of those HBO shows, but you don't have Max, and you've been wanting to watch them, well, you'll be able to get a couple of them on Netflix. I'm excited for Band of Brothers to be on Netflix. Not that I don't have Max, but I'm excited for more people to watch it, because that show is outstanding. In some sad news, Academy Award winner Alan Arkin passed away at 89 years old. Alan had one of those careers that was one in a million. He's been acting since the 1950s. He's an Oscar winner. He won for Little Miss Sunshine, which is incredible. And obviously he was nominated for a ton of other stuff, including Emmys. Coy, what was your favorite Alan Arkin? Oh, right. You're not here today. Alan Arkin was a staple of my childhood in movies like Big Trouble. What else? Edward Scissorhands, The Rocketeer. If you're not super familiar with him, first off, you are familiar with him. You probably just don't realize it because he's in everything. But in seeing all these people talk about Alan Arkin on social media, There's a movie that I'm realizing a lot of people haven't seen, and so I want to give people a recommendation. There's a movie called The In-Laws. It stars Alan Arkin and Peter Falk, and it might be the funniest movie you've never seen if you've never seen it. It is so incredibly good, and they're both fantastic in it. And in fact, it's a movie that I think is parodied so much that people don't realize it's the original source of the joke. Because there's this one incredible scene. It's one of the funniest scenes ever in a movie, in which the two of them are under fire. They've gotten off a plane. They've been abandoned by the plane, and they are under fire in this big open field, like this runway. And there's a car in the distance, and they need to get to the car. And the entire time they're running to the car, Peter Falk is just screaming, "Serpentine! Serpentine!" And they're both running back and forth, hilariously attempting to not get shot. And I feel like that scene has been parodied in so many things that people don't know where the joke started from. Well, it started in The In-Laws, starring Alan Arkin and Peter Falk. So check out The In-Laws. You know what? I'm going to pull it up on my Letterboxd to see where it's available, if it's available anywhere. Oh, it's not available anywhere right now. Well, just buy it. Just buy it or rent it on Vudu or Amazon or wherever you do that sort of stuff. Speaking of Letterboxd, today was supposed to be our big Letterboxd Lifetime in Movies update, where Coy and I sit down and go through our lifetime stats to see how they've changed since last year. When are we going to do that? Great question. My guess is next month when Joy remembers he's the host of a podcast and shows up to record it. All right, the last little piece of news here that I saw on my Twitter feed that I thought was interesting to bring up is at the Australian premiere of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Simon Pegg rolled out a birthday cake for Tom Cruise, who turned 61 years old. That is right. 61 years old, Tom Cruise. Although, despite my personal wishes, it wasn't one of those giant cakes that a lady pops out of, because that would have been one hell of a reveal for Shelley Miscavige. Alrighty, kids. Let's go take some hotline calls. What do you say, Coy? Let's do it.
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. This is Gilbert up in the Bay Area. And I was thinking about multiverses. And it made me wonder, there are all these different versions of characters, and there's infinite Supermans, infinite Spider-Mans, infinite Batmans. Sometimes there's infinite Batmans on one planet. You don't know. But it made me think about a Coycast multiverse. And it made me wonder, in another universe, is Jake Lloyd Bacon John Hamm? Something to think about.
Gilbert Short. All right. I love this, by the way. I love the idea of a multiverse of all the different versions of Coycast that exist out there. Whether or not in one universe I am John Hamm, I love this. I don't think it needs to be a multiverse. I think if I just go to Canada, then I'm John Hamm. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. I've contemplated starting a podcast called Hamm and Bacon, in which the premise of the podcast is that John Hamm just frequently doesn't show up to the show. But now it seems like that concept has been taken by Coy Chandro. Anyways, let's see. Coycast Multiverse, there's a version of me in the multiverse who loves the Snyderverse. There's a version of me that is full-fledged #restore the Snyderverse, that thinks that James Gunn and Peter Safran are the devils, that thinks that cinema peaked in Man of Steel the moment that Superman snapped the neck of Zod, that was peak cinema, that finally Superman stopped being such a bitch all the time, and that he manned up and he made a difficult decision. There's definitely a version out there of this show where that's my take. And there's also a version out there where Coy shows up to do recordings. But listen, that's not this universe that we're in. Gilbert, thanks so much for the hotline call. And by the way, listen to the Patreon only pod. I don't know what it's going to be for this month, but it's going to be there. And I have some words to say to you about my big fat Greek wedding. I'll tell you that much. Get on the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, by the way, Coycast.com, click the Discord link. Join the Discord. It's a very fun place where we can all talk about fun and joy in movies and bad movie recommendations. Let's see what else we got in the hotline.
Hey there, boys. It's Ben from Montreal. How y'all doing? It's hard to kickstart the message with such a great vocal performance by you both on the answering machine. So I'm Smiles here from here. I don't have beef, but I do have a question. What's your opinion about Marvel going cancel culture on the Punisher? Like for reals. Like with the storyline right now being entailed with the new logo and seeing Frank Castle no more. I can live with an idea where Frank Castle becomes a cosmic ghost rider a whole lot more than just being a speck of the 80s, flashing before my eyes as ink to paper sees no longer the skull, Frank Castle, and that mafia murdering bad of a man. So that's the thing. What's your opinion? What do you guys think about, Punisher no more? See you on the Discord, and please, have yourselves a blast. Keep it sweating. Chew.
Benoit from Montreal, he could answer the question whether or not in Canada I am officially John Hamm. He would know. He would be the one. So let us know. Shed some light on us using your Canadian wisdom. Talking about the Punisher, more specifically, the Punisher is no more. Yeah, Marvel officially got rid of the Punisher as a character. And I'm really torn on this. We spoke a little bit about it. Coy, do you remember? What's that? You're not here? Okay. We spoke a little bit about it where in light of the kind of the alt-right and the sort of extremists adopting the Punisher logo as a part of their twisted, xenophobic, bigoted movement. And by movement, I mean giant shit. I don't know. I understand why Marvel, Disney, whoever you want to specify making the decisions would opt to separate themselves from it. But I agree. I could sense, Benoit, in your call that you're a little pissed about it, that there's a little bit of like, really, this is what we're going to do? And I'm kind of with you on that. To me, it feels like you should have done a better job in reclaiming it. I think Jerry Conway on Twitter, had artists make versions of the Punisher logo that said BLM in them, like in the place where the teeth, so to speak, of the skull would be, and incorporated like BLM into the logo. And I feel like I would have liked, Marvel to really take a strong action to, instead of changing the logo like they did or changing the character, to speak more vigorously and publicly about what it is, about what the character is. And I know that there's that very famous panel from one of the Punisher books that gets spread around where he's speaking to the cops and they're saying like, oh man, like we do what you do. We're big fans. And they point to his logo that they've put on their cop car and he rips the logo off and says, if you guys want somebody to look up to, his name is Captain America. I'm not your guy. And that is a great panel. And I'm glad that the people out there defending Punisher as a character are sharing it, but it's not enough. I would have liked a big newsworthy shift in the character. I've joked in the past that I would have just turned him gay. And the more time passes, the less that becomes a joke. Like I would be totally fine with them just being like, yeah, it turns out that this entire time, Punisher has been bi. Frank Castle's been by the entire time, and he's, we tell a story about how he meets this incredible guy and starts thinking that maybe he can finally put his past behind him, and he can finally, that he's had enough vengeance, that enough have been punished, and then obviously a story can continue from there. I don't know. It sounds silly, but do anything. Do anything to very broadly let the assholes who have abducted that logo into meaning something it doesn't, let them know that they are wildly in the wrong. And also, by the way, just tarnish it in their eyes. Because if they would have done a good job of, and I'm using tarnish in quotes, obviously, of connecting the Punisher logo to something that these assholes hate, whether it be gun control. I know it seems like an odd one for Punisher, but part of it, I don't know, or LGBTQ rights, or just anything, all the things that they hate, attach the logo to that, and maybe in some way, shape, or form they'll start ditching it. I don't know, like have every prominent liberal and far left leaning performer and politician start taking photos with M16s, just to make them seem not cool to those guys' eyes. To all those bros who take the exact same, profile photo of them in a car in Oakley sunglasses from the year 2005. Let's make all of those guys realize that the thing that they like is also liked by the people who they hate. And maybe they'll be like, I don't know, I guess I'll go read a book. If they know how to read. That's the problem. Oh, shit, you guys, we figured it out. They don't know how to read. That's why the comics don't come through. It's because they have yet to learn the nuance of a sans serif font in which they could properly ingest the messaging behind stories like The Punisher. There we go. We figured it out. Benoit, thanks for the call. It is unfortunate. I hope that this is a short-lived thing, and that, like many stories, Marvel figures out a way to retcon it, even though it was pretty definitive. If you haven't read it, I won't get into spoilers, but they really do close the door on Frank Castle as the Punisher in a way that feels incredibly definitive. Whether or not it will remain that way, only time will tell. You want to take another call from the hotline, Coy? Oh, that's right. Not here.
Coy, producer Jake, Travis from Florida. Quick question for y'all. Throughout various entertainments and everything else, what is your favorite replacement curse word? It's like, what's it called? Like, for example, Lobo's Bastich. That's a good one. Kilowog's Poozer. I don't know. Favorite curse word or insult that's from whatever form of entertainment, whether it be comics or whatever. Stay sweaty. Peace.
Travis, thanks for the call. So I interpreted this two different ways. I think the way that you mean it is that when a creative doesn't want to have a curse, so they come up with a different word that sounds like a curse. I'm at least that's my guess of what you mean by this. In which case, my favorite is Goram or Garam, depending on who says it, which is Gorram, which was from Firefly. I love it so much because God damn it is my favorite thing to say. God damn it. I apologize to any of those of faith who are offended by that. But oh man, God damn it is the funnest thing to say. It is exactly what I want it. It does exactly what I want it to do in my brain. It relieves whatever the thing is. And so having Goram or Garamit or Goramit or however, all the different versions of which they said it, that's my personal favorite as far as a word that was not actually a curse word that, is in a pop culture thing. There's also blurg, which was Liz Lemon. Liz Lemon threw blurg around a lot, which it just sounds like a barf sound, but it also, I don't know, it kind of has that, it has that same thing that you want of like blurg. I don't know. It sounds like fuck to me, I guess, ultimately. But I don't know that she's ever used it in like blurgen or look at this blurg over here. Like there's so many, the problem is that fuck is so universal. It can be used so many different ways. But the other way that I interpreted this question, though, when I was first listening, was when they replace curse words in pop culture. For example, when a movie is on TV and they want to go in and change something, or when a song has a PG version of it. I remember the very first time, who's the artist who does fuck you? It's not Gnarls Barkley. Is it Gnarls Barkley? I don't know. People are just screaming at me. The first time that I heard the uncensored version of what I thought was a song called Forget You, and I learned that it was actually Fuck You, I was like, my mind is blown. Everything I thought was real isn't. But in movies, one of my favorite things that I have quoted a few times, even though I'm not a huge Big Lebowski fan, the Big Lebowski like TV edit, there's a line that I'm pretty sure it's what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass. And I think on TV it says, this is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. When you it's such a leap of, it makes it seem like when you hear that you've missed a line previously. It makes it seem like there was a scene that got cut about finding somebody in the Alps, or a conversation that was never had. This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. That is a great one. And then I think the most famous one of all time is got to be Samuel L. Jackson on Snakes on a Plane, right? Instead of I've had it with these motherfucking snakes, it's these monkey fighting snakes. I've had it with these monkey fighting snakes, which I guess tracks more specifically if he is calling everybody on the plane monkeys. Like, oh, like we're just monkeys in a tube flying through the sky. Like we're like all humans are all just monkeys. If he's using it in that term, then technically all of the snakes on the plane are actually fighting all of said monkeys hurling through the sky in the tube. So I guess at least that one tracks. So maybe it's not as good as The Stranger in the Alps, but I definitely think that that's the most famous. Other than that, yeah, I can't think of a ton of other in the aforementioned version where it's like a pop culture character who uses a specific word as a curse. I like balls. Balls is really fun. I think that's become really popular on TV for young kids. Like I know on the Goldbergs, that ABC sitcom, the young Adam Goldberg would say balls in a way that was very fun. But that is kind of a curse. Depends. I feel like if I would have said that when I was little, somebody would have said, Jake, watch your fucking mouth, because that's how I was parented. Well, thanks everybody who called the hotline. If you want to get your hotline calls in, you got to dial 818-794-0722. That's 818-794-0722. Leave a message there and we'll play it on the show, and you can have your voice right here where Koi's should be, but he didn't show up. You can also send a voice memo to contact@koycast.com. If you want to just record a voice memo on your phone, you can email it there, contact@koycast.com. If you are overseas, maybe you don't want to call the number, or for whatever reason, you just like recording stuff on your phone, you can control it a little bit more. Although you don't get to hear that delightful outgoing message that Benoit mentioned. So there is that. And with that, I suppose it is time to pick our unpunchable gift horse for the month of July. The way that this works is I take every eligible gift horse patron and throw all the names into the wheelofnames.com. It's not a sponsor. I don't think that they have any money to spend. Wheelofnames.com, it's just a random name generator, and I spin the wheel, and the winner gets a ton of great stuff. And without further ado, the official Coycast unpunchable gift horse for the month of July is Craig Arrogant Desperado B. I mean, that is a name. Craig Arrogant Desperado B. B is just like an initial, B period. I have so many questions about this name, Craig. Is there an A? Was there a Craig Arrogant Desperado A? And you are just the second of those two, but you didn't want to go numerical, so you went alpha instead. Tons of questions. Anyways, Craig, thank you so much for your support. Keep your eye on your email, and we will send you when I say we, I mean I, of course. Coy didn't even show up. I will send you an email on how to get your free merch from the shop, and also how to tell us what you choose for Coy and I to watch over on the Patreon-only pod. Thanks to everybody who continues to show your support for the show by being patrons. Your patronage goes a really long way in keeping at least me doing this. Obviously, I can't speak for Coy today, but your patronage means the world, and there's tons of great stuff over there. If you've never checked it out, please consider giving it a shot. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there are now previews over on Patreon. So all of those patron-only pods, you can check out like the first couple minutes of it, and that way you can get a little taste, and you can be like, oh, you know what? I actually do want to hear Coy's opinions on this specific title. Or I do want to hear Jake go on a rant about how bad Morbius is. All of that stuff is there at patreon.com/Coycast. And once you become a patron, you get access to the entire back catalog. It's not just from the time you sign up onwards. You get every single patron-only pod there is. I'm trying to look at my sheet here really quickly. There are 147 at the time of this recording, 147 patron-only pods. Each one of those is us diving into all of the art that we've enjoyed or not enjoyed. There's so much to talk about there. It really is just an explosion of nerddom each and every week over on the Patreon. And of course, there's other perks there as well that you can check out, all at patreon.com/Coycast. I appreciate it. I showed up. Okay. That's all I can say. Generally, at this point of the show, we would open some of these fantastic DC Cosmic cards that were gifted to us by Mark Allen Heiliger, host of The Hell With This. But in Coy's absence, I'm not going to do it. Plus, we don't have too many packs left. And so I figured we'll save those. We might thin them out. We might start doing only one pack a show. At least you got to stretch it. We got to stretch this out. The idea, of course, is, we were gifted this giant box of these 1991, 1992 DC Cosmic cards by Mark. And we're going to see if there's an entire set in this box. Right now, I don't think it's looking good, to be perfectly honest with you. Not to be such a pessimist, but if we can make an entire set, we are going to give it away at random to one of those who has left us a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. It doesn't matter when you left the review. It doesn't matter if you won a previous review contest. I know we've done one or two where we've given away a shirt. Every single rating and review, specifically, because if it's just a rating, we don't see what your name is. Every single review over at Apple Podcasts is automatically entered to win this entire set of the DC Cosmic cards from 91 to 92. And hopefully we can succeed at actually making that set. Oh boy, this would be really anticlimactic considering we've been doing it for very long. But you know what? I'm going to be hopeful. I'm sure Coy would be hopeful here, but he's not. And listen, sometimes life doesn't turn out the way you want it to be. Sometimes you expect to, have a co-host. And sometimes you just sit all by yourself in a dimly lit room with a giant sign on the wall of a podcast network you started in hopes people would show up. And instead, you're all by yourself, speaking into a microphone, unsure whether anybody's even listening, unsure whether there will be an episode in 2 weeks, because I will be in Scotland, which was one of the reasons why our schedule was supposed to be so heavy today. I'm going to try to get something in the feed for the next episode. Will there be something there? Will it be entertaining? Will Coy be a part of it? Honestly, only the fates know. Only the true gods know. And by that, I mean, of course, Zack Snyder. As far as the Patreon, I will have something in the Patreon for you guys every single week this month. I'm not going to let Coy's disdain for you, the listeners. I'm not going to let his apathy, his unappreciativeness, his general diva-ness get in the way of you fine patrons being entertained. What are those shows going to be? They're going to be extra special. That's what they're going to be. So you better tune in for those. And I guess that'll do it for this week's show. We got through it. We got through it together. Just you, the listeners, and me. You don't even need them. Visit Coycast.com. That is your one-stop shop for all things Coycast. There you can find links to the social media. I'm at Jake Lloyd Bacon. It's a shame Coy's not here, or else he'd tell you what his handles were. Grab some official Coycast merchandise. And of course, become a patron at patreon.com/Coycast. Just remember which one of your parents loves you more. Thanks for listening. And as always, be an artist, not an influencer. Create art, not content.
Dragon Wagon.